one of the most anticipated movies here at Sundance is called The Brink. It's actually the story, a documentary about Steve Bannon, who you may not have heard about him until a couple of years ago, but you've definitely heard about him now. We have director of the movie called The Brink, Alison Klayman, and producer Therese Guirgis. Yeah. So congratulations on the movie. I've seen it. It's fantastic. It just pulls you right in.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Tell folks that it's been described as a fly-on-the-wall kind of documentary. You had amazing access.
Yeah, so I think that's a good place for Marie-Therese to start.
Yeah.
Sure. So many years ago, I worked at a film company, a foreign film distribution company, and Steve Bannon was part of a group of people who ended up buying the company. So he became my boss. So he was my boss for 2 years. As you can imagine, it was a crazy 2 years. But we had a pretty good relationship and stayed in touch for some years after, lost touch for a number of years. And then when he joined the Trump administration, or actually when he joined the Trump campaign, I got back in touch with him because I had, I had some strong feelings about what he was doing. And
negative feelings.
Strong negative feelings, yes, about what he was doing. And then at a certain point, I thought, I saw that he was sort of being depicted in a certain way constantly in the media, that I thought was perhaps giving him like a little bit too much power, and kind of building up a currency that he could then sort of parlay to extend his power in many other places. And I found it very concerning, and I decided to use the relationship that I had and the access to ask him to do a documentary.
And he said yes right away?
No, he didn't. He didn't.
As a matter of fact.
No, he said no because he knew that he knew very clearly what I was thinking and how I felt about what he was doing, and so he said, "No, you'll destroy me," and and I kept asking a few more times, and then just the fourth time, I think I was sort of shocked. He just said, "I'll do it," and then that was the beginning.
Yeah, and the access was amazing. How did you find him? Did you like him?
So I mean, I didn't know what he would be like in person. When I first met him, it was still before he had done sit-down interviews, big books that he was a very loudmouth source for, had not yet come out. So when I first met him, I was really surprised at how charismatic he was. I thought he, from the first minute, if in documentary you're casting, even though it's not scripted, and I was like, okay, I think he's going to be a pretty interesting character. And it also was really clear from the beginning that this kind of fly-on-the-wall verite approach, observational, seeing what he was doing, who was supporting him, where he thought the country or even globally right-wing politics should go next, was going to be the best way, because he's someone who is really slippery when it comes to interviews. He is a good talker. He revels in the combative kind of setup, and will change the topic, won't give good faith answers, and so I think Marie-Therese and I were really clear-headed from the beginning that the approach would just be to lean on that access, try to get in the room, and see what unfolded. And
then he can't come back and accuse you of being fake news media, right?
Yeah.
Because it's everything that he said. There's no narration. Yeah. So we were talking a moment ago, because he's very right-wing. Are you left-leaning or right-leaning when you're putting this movie together, and how did you work that out?
Yeah, I mean, when Marie-Therese introduced me, she said, like Alison is a left-leaning woman. She graduated from Brown University. Her grandparents are Holocaust survivors. This is who she is, and it was really great to not have to be there. I wasn't there in a secret personality or anything like that. But that was, to me, one of the biggest challenges of making the film, was just the day-to-day, having a professional relationship, because everyone that was part of his team, and and including Steve Bannon himself, was really nice to me, and we had to have a professional relationship in order for me to find out, what's the plan, a lot of last minute planning, not a great, organization, but, so a lot of, close interaction. And, he would joke, and everyone knew what my politics were, or like at least in broad strokes, and he would joke, my commie lefty filmmaker here, which I kind of liked because I don't mind being called that. But I think for me it was finding the space to not talk about politics as much as possible, and I just kind of wanted, because I just wanted to observe. So they knew where I was coming from, but I really didn't give a lot of myself in the interactions we had.
What surprised you the most about spending all of this time with him? Where this whole film went this year, and the fact that he began articulating this global vision of a of a far right. Right now there's like a resurgence in a new left. He's one of the main people in the world who's articulating this sort of new far right that's globally connected, seeing Brexit as connected to Trump, and then setting his sights on basically dismantling the EU through, again, through the electoral process, through the May 2019 EU elections. I didn't know that that was going to be what was on the menu for this year. And the thing about verite filming is that you often are filming and you don't always know what the significance of what you're capturing is yet. I treat every day like it's going to be in the movie. There's hundreds of hours and it's a 90-minute film, but you might be filming a meeting between, I filmed this dinner with leaders of several far-right parties from different countries across Europe, and they're sitting there discussing how they might get a, command by negation, a ruling minority that could, start to do things to take apart the EU and enact their anti-immigration, policies, and the danger of Islam in Europe. And, when that night was done, I had to say, well, I don't know what I just filmed. Like, either I just filmed the beginning of something, or I filmed a bunch of people eating dinner, having a conversation. Like, you don't know at the time. So I think the surprise for me was that was a huge storyline, and I think it's still a question of, what is going to happen, but that's why I think it's important for people to see the film. It is tremendous. And Marie-Therese, have you talked to him since the movie's come out? Has he seen it? What was his reaction?
Yes, I have talked to him. He has seen the film. I showed him the film when it was finished, and I think he kept things pretty close to his vest. So I think it was first and foremost a very strange experience for him. He's someone who has not been famous for very long, and imagine if someone followed you for a year and then you saw yourself in that way. So because he just saw it one time, I think that it was maybe a little disorienting. I didn't get the sense that he loved it. I don't know if he hates it, but
you probably know. I'm just thinking, from what I feel, you'd probably know if he hated it.
I think it'll unfold. I think he's someone who is very concerned with the media, the press. So I think as the narrative of the film unfolds in the press and how the press sees the film, I think that will impact how he sees it. It was definitely a memorable experience.
Yeah, because there was another documentary that came out a few months before on him. So you'd think that he wouldn't be. Maybe it was the approach.
It's such a different approach.
It was
because that was an interview. That was an interview that he did over 3 days, and we had actually been making our film sort of months before that one. And I think it's very different to watch yourself at an interview. He's done other news interviews.
And he knows what to say.
Yeah. Whereas when you watch yourself, someone capturing you, I think he very often, and he told me this, forgot that Alison was there. So I think it's a just very different experience.
Yeah, there were really cool scenes in there. The kombucha scene, where he says, when people see that I drink this, they're all going to stop drinking it. That's pretty funny. He actually could be really funny.
Totally. He has a great self-deprecating sense of humor, which again, there's always so many, not even contradictions, but sort of this and this, I think is the story of the film. He has a good self-deprecating or self-awareness, and then also he clearly has a big ego and a grandiose vision. He's someone who thinks about, his vision of history is like great men of history, and I do think that over the course of the year, it was revealed to me through things that he said that he thinks of himself as one of those great men of history that intervened at a moment, made a decision, in my opinion, a disgusting one, to stand by the Billy Bush tape with Trump and make sure he didn't apologize and just kept going. And that is what, led to this transformative, in his word, transformational president that's going to change the world. Right. And so he sees himself, I think, also as a great man of history, but he also will make fun of himself. So that was another thing too for me, an inspiration, or how I shot it, because I shot the film as well, that helped me have like a really small profile, and to be in rooms and to actually dare to hope to be forgotten, that I'm there, is like, to be really solitary while I was filming. But my inspiration was often Veep, as much as it could be like a sort of searing documentary eye. I also thought there was a lot of comedy in the interactions,
which makes it extremely watchable. I enjoyed it. I was captured.
That's great.
Great job.
Thank you so
much.
much.
The movie debuts today in just a few hours, 3 o'clock at the library.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm guessing that it'll be a tough ticket to get, but if you can get one, super lucky.
And can we say also, because we have distribution with Magnolia Pictures, so it's today is really the big day, and it's the beginning of it being seen by the public here at Sundance, and we're so excited about that.
Yeah.
And then it's going to be in theaters starting March 29th.
Awesome, congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, welcome back to Sundance for you. Welcome to Sundance. You may have been here before
She's been
as well.
here all the time.
Okay, yeah, old hats. But it never gets old, does it?
No,
No,
it's so
it
great.
doesn't.
We're so happy to be here.
Awesome.
It feels like the right place to launch into the world, and we feel really supported.
I'd say thanks so much for being here.
Thank you, Wendy.
Thank you so much for having us.
Yeah, The Brink. See it if you can. We'll be right back.